E3 was forced to skip 2020 for obvious and understandable reasons, but finally it's almost time for it to return. The biggest names in the industry will soon be coming together once again for reveals, announcements, and updates in a single week of concentrated hype, and the excitement is certainly ramping up as that week approaches. Rumors, speculation, and leaks go hand in hand with E3, and there's been plenty of that going around lately. So here, we're going to talk about 15 big games that have been rumored, or at least speculated, to make an appearance at the event next month. A quick note before we move forward. Please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. And while you're at it, please click like if you enjoyed this video. It really helps us out. With that out of the way, let's begin. STARFIELD. Let's start with the obvious one. STARFIELD was announced way back in 2018, and though there's been little to no updates on the game since then, it's hard to shake the feeling that it's finally time for Bethesda to pull back the curtain and show us what this game is. Countless reports have suggested that STARFIELD will indeed be one of the games to take stage at Microsoft's E3 show, and really, we don't see any reason why it wouldn't. This one feels like a sure shot, so here's hoping we get to see plenty of gameplay. Forza Horizon 5. Earlier this year, rumors began surfacing that the next Forza Horizon was in development and was actually going to launch before the next Forza Motorsport, which was surprising because the latter had been announced and the former hasn't. Those rumors have refused to let up, with leaks suggesting that Forza Horizon 5 will be set in Mexico and launch later this year. If that is indeed the case, it would make complete sense for that game to be unveiled at Microsoft's big E3 blowout. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. The long-standing mystery of what exactly Rocksteady is working on was finally dispelled last year when Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League was announced. Given the game's 2022 launch window, it makes sense that we haven't heard a great deal about it since then, but it'll have been nearly a year since its announcement by the time E3 rolls around. And if it is indeed coming in 2022, which is not exactly guaranteed, then we'd expect to see more of that game come June. WB is going to be at E3, so honestly, it'd be a little surprising if Suicide Squad skips the show.
So, figure out who we're killing yet?
Gotham Knights. Suicide Squad isn't the only upcoming superhero game by WB.
All units at Elliott Center. Air support inbound.
Gotham Knights is also slated for a 2022 launch, though it was originally primed for 2021. And though we've certainly seen way more of it than Suicide Squad, it's still been a while since we saw anything substantial. Again, WB's presence at E3 2021 is confirmed, so it seems almost like a given that Gotham Knights will be one of the games they show off. OMEN. Arcane Studios' output has been consistently impressive for some time now, both in terms of quality and quantity. While Deathloop is coming to PS5 and PC later this year, their Austin studio and the team that developed Dishonored and Prey has also been at work on something else. Reports have suggested that it's going to be a new fantasy IP, and more recently, a rumor stated that it would be a dark, new vampire-based game codenamed OMEN. According to this rumor, OMEN is slated for a spring 2022 launch, and will be revealed at E3. We'll know soon enough just how accurate that leak is. WOLFENSTEIN 3. WOLFENSTEIN 3 is long overdue, or will be soon enough. Sure, we got Youngblood in 2019, but A, that wasn't very good, and B, it was a spin-off. WOLFENSTEIN 2: The New Colossus will soon be 4 years old, and we're honestly a little surprised that Machine Games haven't pumped out the next mainline game in the series yet. Of course, COVID must have been a factor that probably delayed development, but still, The New Order and The New Colossus were separated by just 3 years after all, and even those two had the old blood between them, and that, unlike the Arcane co-developed Youngblood, was made entirely by Machine Games. Given that timeline, you'd think that we're getting pretty close to the announcement of WOLFENSTEIN 3. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild 2. Breath of the Wild launched over 4 years ago, and its sequel was announced nearly a couple of years ago, but there's still a big question mark over exactly when it's going to launch, or what it even is. Earlier this year, Nintendo said that they'd be providing an update on the game later in 2021, and what better time to do that than E3? Seriously, we'd be extremely surprised if Breath of the Wild 2 didn't receive at least a trailer next month, perhaps even a rough launch window? Maybe that's a bit optimistic, but a trailer for sure. Maybe. It is Nintendo after all, so you never really know. Final Fantasy XVI. This one's a bit tricky. Final Fantasy XVI is a PS5 exclusive, and Sony is not going to be at E3 2021, so where at E3 exactly are we going to see this game? Well, Square Enix are confirmed to be attending, and they've said that they have announcements in store for E3, but it's unclear if they're going to have their own dedicated show. If they do, then sure, it's entirely likely that Final Fantasy XVI shows up. The developer did say not that long ago that we'd get to see more of the game in 2021 after all. But then again, maybe the game will be saved for a dedicated State of Play presentation. Either way, we are hoping for a showing one way or another in the near future. Elden Ring. This one's a bit tricky too. Earlier in 2021, we were getting reports that Elden Ring could be at E3, and those reports started making a lot of sense when an internal trailer of the game leaked. But of late, we've been getting the exact opposite reports. Well, even From Software's parent company has suggested that the game won't be out until the next fiscal year. The wait for Elden Ring has been long and exhausting, so of course we're hoping to see something soon, but it's best to be prepared for an even longer wait. New 2D Metroid. A new 2D Metroid has been in the rumor mill for a long time, so it's not surprising that there was another rumor recently talking about the game once again. Prominent Nintendo insider recently claimed that a new 2D Metroid is in development at Mercury Steam, who also made Metroid: Samus Returns. In fact, allegedly, development has almost wrapped up, and Nintendo is prepared to announce the game at E3. Of course, we've had our fair share of false Metroid rumors in the past, still waiting on that Metroid Prime Trilogy release for the Switch, so it's hard to be too sure of anything. New Donkey Kong. We're not done with Nintendo leaks just yet. Probably the biggest Nintendo leak in recent weeks is Donkey Kong. Tropical Freeze came out way back in 2014, but with Retro Studios busy with Metroid Prime 4, you'd think the series is taking a break. Well, allegedly, that's not exactly right. Leaks from multiple sources have said that a new Donkey Kong game is being made by the Super Mario Odyssey team. The game is apparently targeting a holiday 2021 launch and will be announced at E3. Tread with caution, as you always should with Nintendo-related leaks, but if this turns out to be true, it'll be an absolute dream scenario. Saints Row 5. It's been a couple of years since THQ Nordic confirmed that Volition was working on Saints Row 5, but we haven't heard a peep about the game since then. Not long afterward, it was suggested that we'd see the game at some point in 2020, but obviously that never happened, most likely due to COVID, one would assume. But now we're hoping that the game gets formally and officially revealed. And by revealed, we don't mean a brief communication that says, yes, this game exists, but that's all we can say. No, we're hoping for a reveal trailer and hopefully some gameplay. Will that happen? Well, that remains to be seen, of course, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. Resident Evil Outrage. Here's another tricky one. Resident Evil Outrage has been leaked heavily these last few months, and it's been heavily suggested by reputable leakers that the game was to be announced not long after Village's launch. And now, here we are. The thing is, Resident Evil games generally have marketing deals with PlayStation and are generally announced at Sony shows, so it's possible that Outrage skips E3. Then again, reports have previously suggested that this could be a timed Switch exclusive, and if that is indeed true, then maybe this shows up at Nintendo's E3 Direct. Hard to be sure either way, honestly. Rainbow Six Quarantine. Announced in 2019 and delayed more than a few times since then, Rainbow Six Quarantine remains something of a mystery, including what it'll end up being called. Ubisoft has been insistent that the game will launch at some point in 2021, or by the end of the current fiscal year, according to their most recent communication. But we've yet to see anything of the game in any official capacity other than its announcement trailer. Of course, there have been more than a few leaks of late, but we'd be extremely surprised if the game wasn't formally re-revealed and given a new release date, and a new name, at the Ubisoft Forward showcase that kicks off E3. Dying Light 2. Multiple reports and several delays have made it clear that Dying Light 2 hasn't exactly had the smoothest development cycle, while the update on the game that Techland shared not too long ago was also quite underwhelming and brief. But the developer insists that the game is still slated for 2021, and if that is true, then we should be getting some significant new gameplay footage soon, or, at least a trailer. Maybe it shows up at Microsoft's show. Here's hoping. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.